Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of the latest mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base. Will Robinson Smith. I'll be providing our commentary for the duration of this coverage. We're broadcasting from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Our Stephen Young is running the technical operations of the broadcast. Our launch photography team has this mission off, given that this is a West Coast venture. If you're hopping over from our just recently concluded launch live stream of the Starlink 8-10 mission, welcome back. If you're just joining us for the first time on this distinct flight of Starlink 9-5, we're glad to have you with us. As we get things going, I want to thank the more than 1,300 of you who are with us in the live chat already as we begin this broadcast. If you haven't already, we'd certainly appreciate it if you could hit that like button for us to allow the YouTube algorithm to do its thing and bring a few more folks into this live stream. And taking a look at the live chat here to Byron Moreno. Yes, you have no idea. Want to thank our wonderful moderators for being back with us again. Looks like Callistia Lee has popped over. I'm not seeing Stephanie if she's migrated this way, but if she does make her way over, be sure to give her a hello. Want to thank Callistia and Apocalypse Cow for gifting 5 Spaceflight Now memberships each. Getting us off on a good footing with some generosity here. To our newest 10 channel members, welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us. And a welcome as well to Edward M. joining us at the pad leader level. Callistia letting me know that Steph had to take off early. Understandable. As you can see here on the slate on your screen, SpaceX is targeting the launch of this next Falcon 9 rocket almost within the hour of our last Falcon flight here, thereabouts. Departure time here from Vandenberg Space Force Base and Space Launch Complex 4 East, set for 1:48 a.m. Pacific, 4:48 a.m. Eastern, 04:48 UTC for those around the world. If you happen to miss it during the last launch or just want another refresh on the countdown timeline for a Falcon mission, we got you covered on that one. Let's go ahead and step through that, let you know the milestones that we are anticipating covering. SpaceX, of course, has support for this countdown from its control room, their headquarters to Hawthorne, California. You do know from SpaceX that fueling is in fact underway, so the go ahead was given for the start of prop load. Propellant load began a little more than 10 minutes ago, T-minus 35-minute mark. Loading of RP1 or rocket grade kerosene on board the Falcon 9's first and second stages. At the same time, liquid oxygen is loaded on board the Falcon 9's first stage. T-minus 30-minute mark, cryogenic helium is loaded onto the pressure vessels On the Falcon 9's first stage, helium is used to pressurize the main propellant tanks during flight. That same process began on the second stage about 5 minutes or so later. Second stage, loading of RP1 wrapped up. It's actually wrapping up right about now, as it were. T minus 20 minutes, 50 seconds. The strong back chill down process will begin. That's the process of thermally conditioning the feed lines ahead of second stage liquid oxygen load. Before that happens, or as that's happening, we'll see the so-called big vent from the strong back. That'll last until about T minus 16 minutes, 30 seconds. T minus 16 minutes, second stage LOX load begins. Then at T minus 7 minutes, so the chill down of the 9 Merlin 1D engines gets underway. That process involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, helping to protect the engines from the risk of thermal shock and damage during the startup sequence. About 6 minutes out, the first stage kerosene tank is full. T minus 4.5 minutes, the strong back retract sequence begins. It starts with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairings opening up, and then the transporter erector of the strong back here at Vandenberg will recline about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket and stays in that position until liftoff. 3 minutes out, the first stage LOX tank should be full. T minus 2 minutes, second stage LOX load wraps up, at which point this Falcon 9 will be fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. In the final 60 seconds, control of the countdown is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. The propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. SpaceX launch director will give their go for launch at 45 seconds out. The engine ignition command is issued at T minus 3 seconds. And if all 9 Merlin engines are healthy and ignite, the flight computer will give the command for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9 rocket for a T0 liftoff. T minus 20 minutes, 39 seconds and counting. At 1:48 a.m. Pacific, 4:48 a.m. Eastern, 04:48 UTC. T minus 19 minutes, 13 seconds and counting. Let's go ahead and talk about where this Falcon is going to fly once it leaves the pad. Let's talk a little trajectory, shall we? Taking a look at a satellite view of Space Launch Complex 4 East, or SLIC 4E. Once it leaves the pad, the Falcon 9 rocket will fly in a southeasterly trajectory on the coast of California and Mexico there. The first stage booster will follow that orange arc that you see, touchdown on the SpaceX drone ship called, of course, I Still Love You. Payload fairings will be jettisoned a little bit downrange of the map you see here on your screen as well. The fairing halves will be brought back into port along with the booster, turned around and refurbished, prepared for future flights. SpaceX saves about 6 million bucks in each recovery effort of the payload fairings, so it certainly behooves them to try and retrieve those and make them usable again for future missions. Is what it looks like when a fairing hab is being brought back on board a recovery vessel. See some folks in the live chat talking about launch viewing there. Some folks in Arizona hoping to catch a good glimpse of this Falcon 9 rocket as it makes its climb uphill. If you are able to see this Falcon in flight, be sure to tag us on X. Love to see the launch videos and photos that y'all are able to capture. Taking a look at the live chat, first off, I want to thank the now more than 2,300 of you who are with us live with this potentially your second launch of the day. If you haven't already, we'd certainly appreciate it if you could hit that like button for us to allow some more folks to find their way into this live coverage. That would be much appreciated. Thanks as well to Cynthia Graves for her $5 super chat, saying thanks. Thank you, Cynthia. Lucky 13 Pyro with the $5 super chat, saying staying up to watch on YouTube and in person. That's very exciting. Hopefully the weather is clear where you are. Sounds like things are pretty socked in the immediate area of the pad. Thanks to Robert Ryson for a super chat as well, saying there's thick fog in Vandenberg. So yeah, that's what we are hearing as well. And thanks to Callisto Lee for a $10 super chat, saying for Will's Tea and Halls Fund. Thank you for all you do. Well, thank you, Callisto, for the kind of words. And yeah, I think when all is done and dusted, I think even more so than tea, that sleep will be the greatest reward for including this live coverage. And thanks to QBX2 for a super chat as well. Thank you, QB. Now T minus 14 minutes, 51 seconds and counting. Second stage LOX load is well underway. We're currently T minus 9 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. This particular booster, tail number 1081 in the SpaceX fleet, looking to make its ninth flight today. Before that happens, let's go ahead and wind back the clock, talk about the missions that it already has under its proverbial belt. Launching first last summer, almost exactly a year ago at this point. That was August 26, 2023, when this booster supported the launch of the four-member Crew 7 mission to the International Space Station. That mission was commanded by NASA astronaut Jasmine Moghbeli and featured the first commercial crew launch where all four members were representing different countries. Second launch of this booster came just 39 days after, on November 10th. It was the launch of a Cargo Dragon spacecraft, also heading up to the ISS. Their launch came on December 19th, 2023. That was the Starlink 6-34 mission. Batch of Starlink satellites lifting off from Pad 40 over at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. That was followed by the launch of NASA's PACE spacecraft, standing for Plankton Aerosol Cloud Ocean Ecosystem, launching on February 8th, 2024. Launch number 5 was a rideshare mission, lifting off from Vandenberg. This was the Transporter 10 mission, launching on March 4th. Sixth flight came on April 7th. That was the launch of the Starlink 8-1 mission, followed by the launch of a joint climate monitoring spacecraft from the European Space Agency and the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA. That was the Earth Cloud Aerosol and Radiation Explorer, which launched on May 28th. Finally, the most recent launch was on June 29th, 2024, when this booster sent up the NROL 186 mission on behalf of the National Reconnaissance Office. This was the second such launch of what the NRO describes as its proliferated architecture, a mentioned goal and a desire to launch at least or about 6 times this year with that proliferated architecture, which are believed to consist of Starshield satellites, national defense bent on a Starlink satellite, although the NRO does not comment specifically on its partners or its payloads. So we're now T minus 6 minutes, 21 seconds and counting. At this point, SpaceX is thermally conditioning the 9 Merlin 1D engines in preparation for launch. As we come to the final minutes here, let's go ahead and talk about the launch timeline, the sequence of events that we're expecting once this Falcon 9 does leave the pad in just a little under 6 minutes from now. Following liftoff, the rocket will pass through max Q, or the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. That'll be followed by a few events in fairly rapid succession. We'll have first stage main engine cutoff at T plus 2 minutes and 25 seconds. That'll be followed a few seconds after by a stage separation. The ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage, T plus 2 minutes 36 seconds. Following the burn of the upper stage engine, Payload fairings will be jettisoned just about the 3-minute mark. At T plus 6 minutes and 7 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin. That burn lasting about 20 seconds in total. Setting up for the landing burn at T plus 7 minutes 51 seconds. Boosters should land on the drone chip. Just read the instructions. About T plus 8 minutes 13 seconds. T plus 8 minutes 39 seconds, the upper stage engine will cease
Strong
firing.
back retract has started.
T plus 53 minutes 7 seconds. There'll be a brief 1-second burn of the upper stage engine, setting up the Starlink satellites to deploy at the 1-hour mark. With that, we've got our partially obstructed views of the Falcon 9 rocket, although not entirely blanketed with fog, as can sometimes be the case. We can actually see the Falcon 9 here. The strong back retract sequence is underway. You can see the transporter erector pulling back from the Falcon 9 rocket. Now T minus 3 minutes, 40 seconds and counting. Next milestone we're listening for come right about the 3-minute mark. That is to denote the conclusion of first stage LOX load or liquid oxygen load wrapping up.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete. MPO go.
You heard that call out for stage 1 LOX load wrapping up. Now we're waiting for a similar call on the Falcon 9's second stage. Should be coming up in roughly 45 seconds or less.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And with that call out, the Falcon 9 is now fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. Coming up next, we'll see and hear a call out for the ground gas closeouts.
Ground gas closeouts.
That'll be followed by the Falcon 9 entering into startup. Now less than a minute to liftoff. Sure, the Falcon is in startup, and we're just waiting for the SpaceX launch director to give their go for launch. Let's listen into that.
LD is go for launch.
And with that call, SpaceX preparing for its second launch in just about an hour. As we come to this final 30 seconds,
30 seconds.
Go ahead and listen into the final SpaceX count, and we'll be back with you for some additional commentary on the other side of liftoff.
15 seconds. T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. Go Starlink. Go DTC. Go Falcon.
And Vandenberg chamber pressure is nominal.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Power and telemetry, no.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Some good callouts from SpaceX as we're now a little more than a minute into
Max
this
Q.
mission. As you just heard, Falcon 9 is now traveling through max Q at the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. In the next minute, we'll hit some of those events I was mentioning in rapid succession. First stage management cutoff, T plus 2 minutes 25 seconds, followed by stage separation 3 seconds after that, and then second stage engine start, T plus 2 minutes 36 seconds. Now 2 minutes into flight, less than 30 seconds to MECO. Now less than 10 seconds to MECO.
Main engine cut off.
Stage separation confirmed.
And back ignition.
There go the hypersonic grid fins.
Bearing separation confirmed.
With those fairings now detached, Starlink satellites are exposed to the vacuum of space for the first time in this mission. Now a little more than 3.5 minutes into this mission here. Coming up, the next big milestone will be the start of the entry burn at T plus 6 minutes and 7 seconds. The burn lasting exactly 20 minutes. Now a little more than 4 minutes into the mission. Less than 2 minutes away from the entry burn beginning. Now T plus 5 minutes, 44 seconds into flight. We are quickly coming up on the start of that entry burn beginning.
Stage 1 entry burn startup. Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Coming up next on the start of the landing burn. It's expected at T plus 7 minutes,
Stage 1
51
FTS
seconds.
saved. Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 transonic.
Falcon 9 first stage now traveling below the speed of sound. And the flight termination system on the upper stage no longer needed at this stage of flight. About 5 seconds till we see the start of the landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And for a ninth time, that booster 1069 is safely down on the drone ship.
MVAC shutdown.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And some good callouts from SpaceX there. It will remain in that parking orbit until T plus 53 minutes, 7 seconds. There will be a brief 1-second burn, setting up for the Starlink satellites to be deployed at the 1 hour mark. And with that, it has been a lovely but very long morning. So we're going to go ahead and wind things down with a look at our mission stats as they currently stand here. This was the 9th flight of Falcon 9 Booster 1081, the 369th Falcon 9 launch to date, the 84th Falcon 9 launch of 2024, the 312th Falcon Booster reflight, or the launch of a booster that has flown at least once, the 87th SpaceX launch of 2024. This was the 121st orbital launch within the last 365 days. This was the 88th orbital launch from Slick 4 East for SpaceX and the 156th overall orbital launch from this pad. Looking at recovery stats here, this was the 99th booster landing on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, the 269th SpaceX drone ship landing, and the 343rd successful booster landing so far. Finally, some industry stats. This notable one right here. This was launch number 29 from Vandenberg, which ties the total number of launches that Vandenberg Space Force Base experienced in all of 2023. This was the 91st orbital launch from U.S. soil, the 100th orbital launch from a U.S. rocket company, and this was the 159th orbital launch from around the world, with 6 orbital launch mishaps. Here's where our pie chart now stands. And with that, want to sincerely thank all of you who have been with us for both of our launches this morning. Taking a look at the live chat, I want to thank Cohen Film for a $20, very generous $20 super chat. Just a message, thank you. Thank you, Cohen Film, for your support on this broadcast. Thanks to Callistia Lee for hanging out with us again with this launch, and to Stephanie B, who had to take off a little bit early, but we certainly appreciate all of her work as well, helping to keep things kosher in the live chat. Big thanks to our channel member community, as always, for helping to make Spaceflight Now possible. Thanks to Stephen Young for running the technical operations of the broadcast behind the scenes. Be sure to subscribe to the Spaceflight Now channel here on YouTube, and hop on over to our website, spaceflightnow.com, to keep up to date the launch schedule, as we are continuing to track the next available launch opportunity for the Polaris Dawn mission. And we'll be sure to let you know when that does arise over there. And Steven just letting me know this was a record for 1 hour, 5 minutes between SpaceX launches. So a nice little feather in their cap to close out this evening, morning, however you want to term it, kick us into Labor Day weekend. And perhaps now we can all take a little time off from some labor. Hope you all have a wonderful and safe Labor Day weekend for those here in the United States, and those fortunate enough to not have to work on Monday. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Be good to yourselves, be good to others. And folks, we will see you next time. And until then, bye-bye.